During this instructional video, I will show you how to upload your teachers, staff members into Curriculum Track. In Curriculum Track, we refer to them all as users. So if I go to Admin Users Database, and if I do a search, notice that it does not have all my teachers. You're probably only, when you first get into Curriculum Track for the very first time, you only have that admin or maybe a couple admins that you gave to us initially, and we put them in for you. So now we have to get all the rest of our teachers, our staff members, into Curriculum Track. To do that, we recommend that you use the Import Users tool. So on the left side, we'll click Import Users, and then there is directions here. And so let's work our way through those. So prior to importing users, you must follow these steps. First of all, create a spreadsheet using the columns provided in step 2. So in the first row of your spreadsheet, create the below column headers. Fill in the spreadsheet with the appropriate data values. Note what fields are required for a successful import. So I actually went through the work to create an Excel file with this data. Now, if you have this data in a student management system, you typically can find a way to export the data out of that student management system and get it into Excel, and then just reorganize the columns so that they're in this format. So the first column, column A, must be the unique ID, and then the first name, last name, email, and so forth. So let me go ahead and open the Excel file that I got out of my student management system as an example. So it might look something like this. And so now what I want to do is I want to start working to prepare my Excel file so it fits this format. So the unique ID is the first item. So that can be a staff ID, but basically, and it can be alpha or numeric or a combination of the two. So if it's, for instance, the same as their username, so in this case for Rob Anderson, notice his username is R. Anderson, maybe that's what the ID is as well. What is required though is every ID has to be unique. If not, it's going to only upload one of those two teachers that have the same ID, the last one. The next column should be the first name, and notice that when I got my data out of my student management system, it put my last name first for the teachers. So I'm going to go in Excel, and I'm a PC user, so I'm going to right click and go Insert, and then I'm going to go ahead and select this column, and I'm going to cut that and paste it in here. So now let's see what we have. We have in A the ID, B is the first name, C is the last name, D should be the email address, which I have. By the way, notice that that the email does not have an asterisk in front of it. That means that that is not a required field. However, if you don't have email addresses for the teachers, so let's go ahead and just delete this out. So you still would not want to upload it this way, because column D still has to have a placeholder for the email address. So if you're not going to have email addresses, you would still have a placeholder for email addresses in column D, and you would just leave it blank. So let's go ahead and undo that, because I did have email addresses, and put them back here again. The next item is the group. It says this field is a comma-separated list of groups. If the group doesn't exist when the import is done, then a new group will be created. So here's the groups that I have for this school, and if the group that you're importing does not exist, it would add it in. So you don't have to worry about setting up the groups ahead of time. The other thing that's saying is, for instance, if you have a teacher that belongs to the elementary and the high school group, elementary and the middle school group as an example, you would just put demo elementary staff, comma, and then, oops, let's put a comma instead, and then demo middle school, or whatever you want to call those groups. If you don't really want to use groups, notice that it is a required field. Then I would just create one group and just call it staff, and just go staff all the way down. That would work just fine. So that is E. Let's move on. F is the username, um, which is what I have. G is a password. Notice again, not required. So you could leave that blank. If you leave it blank, what happens is a random password will be generated for them, and you can still send them an email to have them reset that password. What I'm doing in this case is, because I don't have passwords for my users, I'm going to give all of them the same password initially, and then I'm going to force them the first time they log in to change their password. Because that's what column H is. It's saying, do you want to force them to enter a new password the first time they log in? So I either have to put yes or no for that. And notice it is, again, not a required column. So if you leave it blank, it's assuming it's no. It's kind of the same. So if you take these out of here, that means you're not going to force them. By the way, notice it is YES, not just a Y. That's not going to work. We need you to type in either yes, no, or leave it blank. If you make it no or leave it blank, in essence, it's the same. So force them. So now what that's saying is this teacher is going to log in with this username, this password, but it's going to force them to change their password the first time. The next item over, I, is permission levels. Is this person going to be a curriculum admin, a curriculum editor, or a curriculum viewer? If you're not sure, you might want to watch the video on permissions first before you do this upload, just to be sure. But typically, if these are the folks you're uploading, most teachers are going to be editors, which means they're going to be able to edit the courses that they're attached to. I would not upload admins. You only want to have a few admins in your school. So I'm making all these editors, I believe. Maybe there's a few viewers. Nope, they're all admins. Letter J is, do you want them to have support center access? Again, options are yes or no. And if you say yes, that means they're going to be able to submit support tickets to us. And one thing we ask of our curriculum track schools is, please only have a handful of folks in your school that have this ability. Typically, it's just going to be your curriculum admin folks. And the reason why is because the support team that we have is not a large team, but it's a very focused team where they can almost answer every question that you send to them. They're very, very knowledgeable. So we don't have kind of a gateway level of support where if you ask a question that they have to go get the answer from someone else. A lot of companies will do that because 80% of the questions they get are very simple and mundane. We really don't want those simple and mundane questions to come to us. So the teachers, if they have questions, they should go to your admin folks because you're going to be able to answer a lot of those. Plus, it's good for you to know if they have questions about curriculum track. If they, and then if the curriculum admin person does not know the answer, they can submit a support ticket for the teacher. So again, most of your teachers should not have support center access. And then the last item, column K, is a filler. And I don't have that in here right now, so let's add that in. And basically, that's just putting a letter X, lowercase x. I can't recall if it's case sensitive, but just make it lowercase all the way down. And what that's doing is when it uploads the first teacher, when it gets to this X, it signifies that the next data that's read is going to be a new user. So it's very important. That is required. You have to have that filler in here. If you don't, you're probably going to get an error of some sort. All right, then it says make sure the first and last columns do not contain any blank entries. So what that's saying is if I open this up, column A here should not have any empty, and column K should not have any empty fields. So you shouldn't have something like this as an example. And you shouldn't, because both K and column A are both required columns. Next it says remove the first row containing column headers. So this is an important process. If you don't do this, you're going to actually upload someone with the first name, and last name, and so forth. So take that out. You keep these in here to get your data ready, but once your data is ready, you'll delete that out. and then you'll go ahead and save your file. And then finally, well, I guess I already did that. Save the file as either .xls or XLSX, which is the new version of Excel or the older version. So once you have that done, I can go ahead and click Browse, and here are the users that I just prepared in that Excel file. I would recommend that you probably uncheck this. What that's saying is, when you upload this, do you want all your teachers to receive an email with the website address for Curriculum Track and their usernames and a link to log in and change their password? You can always give that to them again later. You can always send this to them later, but probably don't want to do it initially because it might be nice for you to set some things up within Curriculum Track before they gain access to the software. So now we'll go ahead and click Import, and notice that it's working on this. It might take a minute or so to upload these. But once the import is done, it'll say something like this: the users have been imported, and show you a report on if there were any that weren't added correctly and so forth. So let's go ahead and do a search now too. And you'll notice that instead of having one user, we now have our 36 users in here. They're editors attached to this group and so forth. So that's how you would import those. And we also have something kind of handy that you can use with your import. If you go to Help Manual, and then go to, let's see here, let's go to Overview and Setup. You'll notice that there is an Upload Users template, and what that is it's an Excel file, so we can go ahead and open that. And what it does is it has fictitious data in, but it kind of shows you the format so you can kind of follow suit with it. So that might be real helpful for you to use as you upload your users.